afternoon. I'm Adrienne Lance Lucas, and I am your host and moderator for the Rhodes to Success. Your son's journey is his own. A candid and compelling Parents Weekend panel discussion designed to help demonstrate that while there may be many roads leading to your son's success, there's still only one desired destination: to graduate and go on to blaze new trails in his respective profession, as well as serve others and make a meaningful impact on all those he encounters. As a Spelman alumna and a Morehouse mom, I am a witness that this institution has an undeniable reputation for producing some of the best and brightest Black male leaders the world has to offer. That's why we send our sons to Morehouse, isn't it? It is so important to understand, however, that Morehouse is not only dedicated to nurturing and preparing its intellectual elite, but it's also committed to the diamond in the rough and every academic mind between. This is the message that Artis Blanchard, Director of Parent Engagement, wanted to drive home. She wanted to encourage the most focused and studious students to stay the course, while also telling those who may have changed direction or temporarily lost their way that it's okay and never too late to get back on track. I happen to agree with Artis. So when she asked me to host today's parents' discussion, I immediately said yes, especially when I learned of all the outstanding Morehouse men who would be joining us today. So without further ado, let's meet our distinguished panelists. Our first panelist is a world traveler who has lived on 5 of the 7 continents, speaks multiple languages, including Japanese and Mandarin, and who calls Wuhan, China, his second home. He studied at the University of Oxford and the University of London, where he earned 2 master's degrees in English and literature. As a respected nutrition expert, fitness coach, educator, and entrepreneur, this alumnus is the inspiration behind today's panel. Please welcome the first student from Morehouse College, and in fact from any HBCU, to be named a Rhodes Scholar, Mr. Nima Warfield, class of 1994. Welcome, Nima. Next up, we have a Grammy Award-winning producer, songwriter, app developer, and professor of music. A dual degree applied science major while at Morehouse, this panelist went on to become a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and to earn his advanced degree in engineering at Georgia Tech University. He is currently Director of Film, Multimedia Services, and Operations for the Ray Charles Performing Arts Center at Morehouse College. Please say hello to Mr. Kennard Garrett, class of 2001. Also joining us today is a native of Kansas City, Missouri, who is an undergraduate political science major, was also a member of the debate team, moot court, SGA, and Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. He was also a Gates Millennium Scholar, Phi Beta Kappa, and valedictorian of his class. Today, the 3rd-year Harvard Law student serves on the Black Law Student Association Executive Board, works with the Harvard Defenders Program, and volunteers with the Harvard Legal Aid Bureau, where he advocates for low-income and indigenous clients in civil and criminal matters, respectively. Upon earning his JD from Harvard in May, He will join the nation's top law firm, Wachtell Lipton, in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Derrick Parker Jr., class of 2018. This afternoon's panel also includes social media guru, professional photographer, brand ambassador, and creator of one of my favorite publications, The Chronicle of Black Male Excellence, We Are Morehouse. During his undergraduate years, the Dallas, Texas native served as SGA president and an editor for the Maroon Tiger newspaper, among other student organizations. After graduating, the political science major worked in higher ed admissions and recruitment before earning his MBA from Kennesaw State University. Currently, he serves as Senior Director of Content Marketing Strategy at Morehouse College. Please welcome Mr. Joe Carlos III, class of 2004. Our next panelist applied to college early and to only one institution, Morehouse College, to which he was admitted a full academic scholarship. In his freshman year, the former four-letter high school athlete was a walk-on receiver for the Maroon Tiger football team. He also worked in the campus bookstore and became a presidential ambassador during his sophomore year. Today, this accomplished sales professional boasts an impressive and proven track record of a successful training manager, and he is currently a top producing senior account executive with the award-winning edtech company, Dreambox Learning. Please say hello to Mr. Douglas Blanchard III, class of 2019. Last but not least, our final panelist is a Morehouse College trustee, influencer, mentor, motivational speaker, author, and owner of a full-service award-winning Atlanta-based construction company, noted for erecting multi-billion-dollar projects on campus, around the city of Atlanta, throughout the South and beyond. During his days as a student, this scholar athlete played football and became a member of my brother fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. He would later become a major college donor and fellow Morehouse parent himself. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Charles David Moody, class of 1978. Welcome. Welcome, all of you, and thank you again for agreeing to share your insights and experiences with our viewers today. And to our parents and others watching, thank you for tuning in to witness what we hope will be an enlightening and empowering exchange this afternoon for our Morehouse sons and their families. Now let's get started. My first question for our distinguished panel is, what made you choose Morehouse, and how much did your parents influence your decision?
Okay, well, when it came to Morehouse, I didn't know what Morehouse was until my mom came home from work. I think I was about 12 years old, and she came home from work talking about this intern that was in her office. She worked for Johnson & Johnson at the time, and she was just raving about how great this intern was. There happened to be a young brother named Kelvin. W. Kelvin Johnson is his full name, and he's the first Morehouse man that I ever knew of. Actually, he wasn't a Morehouse man at that time. He was a man of Morehouse, but he's the first Morehouse student that I knew of, apart from, Dr. King. And I probably knew by then, maybe not, no, not at 12. I didn't know Dr. King had gone to Morehouse. Anyway, so she came home raving about this young brother, and she was like, that's where I want you to go to school. So being the obedient compliant, very good firstborn son that I am, or have been at least, I was like, okay. And from there, it was really more so about learning what Morehouse had to offer. Like, I think, of course, later when I learned that Dr. King had gone to Morehouse, it was like, that's a great, path to follow. And also school days. That's what sealed the deal. 1988, I'll never forget it, spring of 98, when School Days came out and I saw it in the theater, and I knew at that point that certain scenes had been filmed at Morehouse. I was like, yeah, that's the place that I want to be. So Spike, thanks so much. That's you're a big part of how I ended up at Morehouse.
Well, it was 1974, and I was actually on my way somewhere else to school, and before I graduated, and a couple of men, I lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan then. I grew up in Chicago and went to high school in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And my father was a vice provost at the University of Michigan, so I knew I wasn't going there. I wanted to be free to be a college student. And so I got accepted other places, and a couple of men from Morehouse in Ann Arbor who were graduates said, hey, why don't you send your football films down to Morehouse, see what happens? Well, Morehouse offered me a football scholarship, so I said, I'll go check it out, but I'm not going. I didn't want to go south, but then I was ready to get out the snow too, but still. So I came down to Morehouse and walked around that campus, and I could feel the history. I could just feel it. But you know what really got me? I always tell the true story. The coach was brilliant. He had a player take me to Spelman at lunchtime. I was done. I signed my letter of intent right then. I never saw the practice field. I didn't even realize we didn't have a football stadium then at Morehouse. We didn't have really any weights, but I didn't care. I saw Spelman, Clark, Morris Brown. This is 1974, folks. It's at the height of the historically black college. It was awesome. It was just a beautiful experience. I was hooked, and I never regretted it. And my son's a graduate of Morehouse 2007, and my daughter's a graduate of Spelman 2009.
Before I ventured off to Morehouse College, I had no idea what a historically black college was. I had no idea what Morehouse College was. But then I had a chance to do my own research, and I had a chance to visit the institution for myself. And what I saw there was magical. I was excited to be surrounded by black men who looked like me, who came from all walks of life, and who aspired to be somebody, who aspired to do something, and who aspired to go change the world. And that atmosphere was truly magical. I also had a chance to walk down the promenade and see the beautiful women at Spelman College, which made the decision a little easier. But all in all, I was inspired by the idea of being surrounded by people, black men specifically, who would push me and challenge me to reach new heights and think in ways that I'd never thought before. And when I got there, that's exactly what happened. I would recommend Morehouse to any young black male out there who is looking for an institution, because it is truly the only institution of its kind in the world where you can be unapologetically black, where you can wake up and not have to focus on what you look like or what you're wearing, but you can focus on what really matters, and that's getting a great education. And my parents helped me with this decision by being in my corner every step of the way and letting me know that whatever decision I decide, whatever school I decide to go to, they would be right there along the way. And they was happy about Morehouse College because they knew of its rich legacy and its rich history. And I think that going to Morehouse College was certainly one of the best decisions that I've made.
So it was almost 100% influenced by my mom, actually. Being from Atlanta, I worked in the bookstore as a high school student at Morehouse, which gave me some familiarity with the campus and its mission. But it wasn't until, I would say, February of my junior year in high school, where my mom got us tickets to attend the Candle in the Dark Gala. And sitting at the gala, I saw the the orators that were students and heard about the success of the award recipients and how it was tied to their experience at Morehouse. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that brotherhood. I felt like Morehouse was a place that I needed to be. And I made that decision that day to choose Morehouse. In fact, it was the only place I applied to. My mom was a big influence in helping me make that decision by giving me a glimpse of what my future could entail by attending that gala. So thanks, Mom, for that.
What influenced my decision to go to Morehouse, and did my parents have anything to do with it? Yes, my parents made it abundantly clear that I was going to Morehouse. Um, it was not it wasn't my first choice. I started college elsewhere, and then when things there didn't work out due to my lack of focus, I had to come home for a year. But as soon as I was home, the process was, it was basically it was down to one school. It was really all about getting into Morehouse. And so my aunt taught at Morehouse in the 90s, in the early 90s, taught English, and was quite a vocal proponent of the Morehouse experience and felt that it would be good for me. But my parents made it abundantly clear as soon as I got in. I got back into the school that I'd attended initially, and then and I got into Morehouse probably around the same time. And my dad was very clear, like, all right, we're going to pay the deposit now for Morehouse. So I think Morehouse didn't have a film major, and that's what I wanted to do. And so, but by the time I applied to Morehouse, I was interested in law and studying government or politics. And so I'm glad I did listen to my parents. And had I listened to them earlier, there's no telling what would have happened. But I'm glad I listened to my parents, who ultimately made that decision for me.
I chose to go to Morehouse because luckily I was influenced by somebody who I really looked up to. So I grew up in this small town in South Carolina, Denmark, South Carolina, and there was this family that moved back, the Sellers, and ended up, we went to church with their children, and our families were friends. And the oldest son, Cleveland Sellers III, when he graduated from high school, he was going to Morehouse, and really looked up to him, respected his family, his dad, civil rights icon. And I remember his freshman year, him coming back. We were sitting at a Waffle House, I think like in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and he's telling me about this place. And it sounded like the most amazing place in the world. The people he had met and the experiences he had. And it was just his freshman year. I think it was first semester. But that influenced me, and it sounded, I mean, we talk about Wakanda. It sounded like, man, that sounds like a dream. Like, I don't even know what that's like. And so I was committed from then on to, like, that's the place I gotta go. So I graduated valedictorian in my high school class, and I was a star soccer player. So I had academic scholarships, I had athletic scholarships to a lot of places, but my mind was set on Morehouse. So, I didn't get the full ride initially to Morehouse. My parents were looking because I had opportunities for full scholarships other places, but I got a full tuition scholarship. And my parents didn't say, hey, you should take this someplace else. But eventually I actually got the second half of school paid for by NASA through the Ronald E. McNair scholarship program, because I was an engineering major. But yeah, I mean, it was naturally, it was the choice for me. I wouldn't have gone any other place. So it was an easy choice for me. And as far as my parents' influence, they just wanted me to be in a place that I was comfortable, and they were both in education. They wanted me to always excel and do the best. So they encouraged me. They encouraged me. I remember my dad helping me out with my application, and I was very happy that they were supportive of my decision.
Great. Now let's go on. Aside from what you gained academically, what other important life skills did you learn at Morehouse? And how have they helped you navigate personally and professionally?
What did I really get out of Morehouse? And this is something that I think is important. I speak very publicly about this. I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. I didn't speak about this until last 6 years. Last 6 years, but Morehouse was instrumental for me because I was dealing with a little bit of anxiety and some stuff. But Morehouse, I always felt comfortable. I always felt peaceful. I always felt loved, and I just gained and believed I could do anything with my life. Morehouse, it was just phenomenal. I mean, I was only at Morehouse 2 weeks coming out of football practice one day, and there's Hank Aaron standing there. I mean, I met some of the best, the brightest all the time. Jose Williams, Andy Young, John Lewis. I mean, any of them just be walking on campus. That's the beauty about Morehouse. Your child's going to meet some of the most incredible people. I had some great professors. And it was just awesome. And then when I went to Morehouse, we didn't have air conditioning in the dorms. Only one classroom building had air. And King Chapel was completed the second semester of my senior year. And we were the first class to ever graduate in King Chapel. So I'm always proud of that. Edwin Moses, the greatest hurdler of all time, is my classmate. Spike Lee was a year behind me. Martin Luther King III was a year behind me. The list just goes on and on and on. And that's what you get from Morehouse.
So I would have to say, well, here, my original class was the class of 2014. And what we encompass, I don't know if it came before us or if it's still talked about now. Maybe my Morehouse brothers on the panel can help me out with that. But we would all say, okay, you have your specific majors. Some guys had minors, but everybody minored in finesse, no matter what. Right. So I always joke and say, hey, my major was philosophy, but my minor is in finesse. And I guess finesse may have some negative connotations to it. So I guess I would change it to handling adversity. Morehouse helped to teach me how to navigate and adapt when things didn't go the way that I expected. And, for example, you may have to stand outside the financial aid office after every class, in between every class, and make sure you meet with the person that you need to see. You may need to stand in that long line at the registrar's office to fix something that you didn't know was an issue with your schedule. I've actually been locked outside of a classroom before by a professor for not being in class early. It was my freshman year. First class started at 8 a.m. and I think I got there like 7:58. But anyway, he would lock the door at 7:55. And I learned very quickly, as well as his explanation about, to be early is to be on time is to be late, and to be late is not accepted or not acceptable. So those are just a few examples of how the lessons have helped me navigate in life, especially as a Black man in America, being adaptive and not settling for meeting expectations, but understanding that sometimes you need to finesse a little bit. You need to go above and beyond to achieve your desired results has been very important for me to use outside of Morehouse, and what I would say I learned apart from the academics that has helped me out tremendously and still helps me to this day.
As I am sure you've heard the others say, Morehouse College not only prepared me academically to tackle this thing called life, but it prepared me in so many other respects. First, Morehouse College gave me a confidence level that cannot be deterred. There's that saying that you can always tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much. And because of what I learned at Morehouse College, I am ready to tackle any challenge that comes before me. And I tackle it head on with my head held high, because I know that what I learned at Morehouse College are the same skills that will get me through any life situation. But second, Morehouse College gave me a sense of purpose and belonging. When I left Morehouse College, I knew my place in the world, and I knew what I needed to do to contribute. And lastly, Morehouse College gave me connections and mentors and lifelong friendships that will truly be beneficial. Wherever I go, wherever city, whatever country, whatever state, there's a Morehouse man. And because of the connections I made at Morehouse, because of the friendships I made at Morehouse, I can go anywhere and know that I have a brother.
Okay. So, Morehouse, anybody who has been through the hallowed halls, they know. They say the Morehouse experience builds character. Whether it was the meals at Chivers, which in the early days, because I showed up in 1989 and finished in 94, so that's when all the old school heads, in that sense, y'all know what I'm talking about. Shivers meals were, but they said that Morehouse builds character. So any adversity, any struggle, any issue that you went through at Morehouse, the spin, of course, is it makes you a better person, because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? One thing I definitely got out of Morehouse, as far as dealing with people who can help me out, like financial aid office in particular, I learned about learning people's names, the value of learning their names, giving them, full attention and appreciation, not just because they can help me, but because they're actually, good folks. But knowing that power of, learning somebody's name, having a good rapport with them, not just coming and being, okay, I need my form stamped or whatever, like learning to appreciate the person. And then because of that relationship, that rapport that you build, a lot of stuff gets done. So, if I needed something to happen quickly because, Ms. Watkins or Ms. Bolton or Elise or whoever, because they knew me, because we had struck up that rapport, they were in a position to, move the gear, to grease the wheels a little bit more for me. So that was a great skill that has worked both in personal and professional capacities, but also, just in general, understanding that, yes, that adversity, the things that you go through that don't necessarily seem like, the smoothest or most easy-going experiences, those are the ones that actually help you. And in real life, please, I've been kicked in the teeth numerous times when it comes to circumstances, and I can't always say my response was what I would have preferred it to be, or, just grin and bear it, buck up, handle it. But at the end of the day, being able to see the value in the struggle, that's certainly something that Morehouse had a huge hand in building within me.
Life skills from Morehouse. I know I have 90 seconds to talk about this, but there's something I use every day from my time at Morehouse. I communication skills, networking, the ability to effectively communicate, literally my photography, graphic design. There's so many different specific things that I learned throughout my experiences at Morehouse in student government. The ability to lead, the ability to be led, innovation, creativity, public speaking, and just being yourself. I think that's probably the most useful life skill that I picked up at Morehouse, was the being okay with being yourself. And so I'm proud that was also a part of my education at Morehouse, being myself, and that I've leaned into that while living life. I leaned into that. So I can say that even though there are other individual things that I've learned and picked up throughout my Morehouse experience, I think being true to yourself and realizing that who you are is more than enough. I think that's probably the biggest and most rewarding life skill that I came away with in my Morehouse College experience.
It's a very good question. Aside from academics, one of the biggest takeaways that I got from Morehouse was networking. This sense of belonging, feeling in a space where I was around like-minded people. But networking for two reasons. Not even thinking about my long-term plans and futures with networking, but more so the experiences that I was able to gain and learn from through other people's life experiences. It was a chance for brotherhood. It was a chance to really see the world through a lens that I never seen through Black excellence. And it's such diverse experiences within our student body really enriched me and propelled me forward in my thinking, my confidence, and honestly, my purpose. Leaving Morehouse, I was focused on becoming great in my own profession, but more so it was about finding purpose. And honestly, with all I've done, I think I'm really at that point. I'm at the cusp of that, of executing that in these later years in my life. So one of the biggest takeaways I would just say is just being surrounded by like-minded people and being able to pull upon their life experiences, being able to be challenged, and to be competitive. I mean, we knew who we were on the yard as Morehouse men, but then to take that same attitude, that same sense of winning, and taking that into the real world, to then come back and just couple that with the incredible network. It's once again, it's the best choice of my life and has really set me on a path that's defined who I am, but also what I'm going to do in the future.
Great insight. Now, some say leaders are born and others say that they are made. Which do you believe is true in your case? And how have you used your leadership to influence change or help others? Who'd like to take that one?
I believe that everyone has the ability to be a leader. We all have those leadership qualities deep down inside, but there are certain experiences that we have that bring those leadership qualities out front and center of our personality. And Morehouse College is such an experience. The truth is that you will leave Morehouse stronger than you came in. And if you were a leader when you came into Morehouse, you will be a better leader when you leave. If you were not so strong on your leadership abilities when you came in, you will be stronger when you leave. The truth is that as Black men, we don't have a choice. We must be leaders. We must be leaders in the legal space, in technology, in education, in science. And so Morehouse College develops that, be it in the classroom, in your fraternities, in the Student Government Association. You will find a way to strengthen and develop your leadership skills. For me, the scariest thing about Morehouse College was that suddenly I am in a class full of 500 other senior class presidents and 500 other hometown heroes. But Morehouse College is about the story of iron sharpening iron. And that's how we will succeed. And you will succeed at Morehouse College.
Leaders born versus made. Certainly, okay, so somebody may have the bloodline, they come from a line of pastors or educators or politicians, whatever. The circumstances from which you come clearly play a role, whether it's the family circumstances or the upbringing. So that's like nature versus nurture. I would say more of it is the nurture, like what's cultivated within you. The genes are always there. It's what environment the genes actually are in that get them to move in one way or another. That's actually like real life genetics, epigenetics. So the same I would say is true of leadership. You can have the wherewithal within you, but if you're not put in a situation to help build that, to help cultivate that, to help grow your abilities, then that seed is not going to sprout as quickly. And of course, Morehouse is a place that clearly it encourages you to take on leadership roles, whether you like them or not. And that's certainly something that I would say the leader being made it's a better story, because You don't want to just have to rely on your bloodline, your, birthright, etc. You want to know that, anybody from any situation can rise to the occasion. Just like what Howard Thurman talked about, Morehouse challenges her students to rise to that crown that she holds above their heads.
So I would say I think it's a little bit of both. I do think your circumstances can breed leadership, what you're born into. If you're born into an adverse environment, it could cause you to respond in the way to become a leader and really lead your way out of that situation and develop the skills needed to be an effective leader along the way. I do believe it is also how you're raised and how you take the experiences of your life to find that leadership. For me, it was both for sure. I have had some adversity in my life, like everybody else has, and some of that drove me to cultivate leadership skills. But I also think having the guidance of my mom and my dad to lean on in certain situations helped me grow into that leader that they raised me to be. Right? I come from a military family as well, so the whole idea of never asking anyone to do anything that you can't or wouldn't do yourself um, has really bridged into what my leadership is. More of the leadership style, I guess, defined as in leading by example, is more so along the lines of what I am in terms of a leader. And in order to be a leader, there has to be followers, right? And I do think there are certain situations where you may be in that follower role, right? But if you view it as if you're learning how to be a leader through someone else, hey, how do they approach this situation or how do they handle this obstacle? It can help you to develop the skills that you need in order to become that leader when it's your turn to be in that leader role later on as well. So I guess with that, I would include your mindset with respect to leadership has to be a little bit more open in terms of understanding that sometimes being a follower does not mean that is where you are always at in life, but it also does not mean that you just take it as a follower. You take that experience so you can understand how to better become a leader when it's your turn. So leading by example also allows you, I think, to perform your best and to always do the right things to ensure that whomever is following you pays it forward.
One thing Morehouse did for me, it really teaches you leadership. It just does. They have a saying, you can always tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much. That's true. I've been married 38 years. My wife's the only person who can tell me everything that I need to do. But Morehouse men, I mean, it's just something about it. It's hard to explain. I watch my son. He's 36 now, and I've just watched what Morehouse has done for him. And he could have went anywhere in the country to college. He said, Dad, the stories you told about Morehouse and all my uncles, because all my good friends he called his uncles. He said, Dad, I can't help but go but one place, Morehouse. And he stayed on campus. We didn't let him come home. We live in Metro Atlanta. He could only come home on the breaks, and we made him feel like he was 700 miles away. And I used to drive from Michigan to Atlanta by myself in the 70s. Drove nonstop, other than to get gas. Now, parents, one thing I've learned that I'm gonna share with you. When I came to school, there was no internet, no cell phones, none of those things. So we just, wrote letters to our parents. And I'm just as guilty now because the cell phones and stuff, if I text one of my children and they don't respond right away, I'm kind of getting nervous. Oh, God, what's going on? My parents used to say, and my parents' generation would say, if I don't hear from you, I know everything's okay. And we've become the complete opposite, where if we don't hear from our children right away by text or something, we're thinking something's wrong. So when they go to college, they're not going to respond right away. I used to have to tell my son, hey, man, you ain't got to call daddy or text daddy, but at least call your mom, please, because they get here and it's just an incredible thing for them.
I think all leaders are born. Well, everybody's born, but it's hard to make leaders, and this is why I say that. I know we say we're in the business of doing that. The reality is, it was already within the person. Morehouse for me was the opportunity, and this is, I think, the importance of the institution. It brings together those leaders. We seek it out. We end up in that place because it is the place that we know we should be. And we may not have all of the leadership skills before we get there, but we develop them. And I think that nature of who you're surrounded by and the different experiences that come from all over the world, but they look like you, they sound like you, they dress like you, and it pushes you to be a better leader. It pushes you to seek who you are and to figure out how to lead people through your skills, through your talents. Prime example, I'm never going to forget my freshman year history class. Sean King, activist, attorney, and friend of mine, he was in that class. This guy by the name of Albert Sanders. Albert worked in the Obama administration, now is working in global policy for Google. He was in that class. We've got some amazing people that I just remember from being in that class, and it's like, man, these guys are like born leaders. They were born leaders back then, but they challenged me. They made me want to be more like them. And although we chose different career paths and different lives per se, there's something about the leadership value that I got from those gentlemen, my peers, being surrounded by them. Not to mention people like Walter Massey and John Hopps, and just hearing them speak. Oh goodness, I can hear Dr. Hopps' voice right now. But hearing them speak at a Crown Forum and all the other leaders, world leaders that they brought in to speak to us and enrich us, you can't help but take something away from that. And as far as how that's helped me in my professional life and given me the ability to lead, once again, it goes back to a sense of confidence, but a sense of belonging and purpose in saying, like, if we don't lead, who is going to? If we propel ourselves or say to ourselves, we are leaders in every space. We are this place for Black men, that there's no other place in the world like it, then we have a responsibility to lead. So I fall upon that, and I take that as, being given the opportunity to attend Morehouse is a gift in itself. And with that gift comes a responsibility. So leaders are born. Morehouse just sharpens them.
I think at some point it's imperative that we come to grips with the fact that some leaders are born, some are made, some are both. I'm a leader. Okay, I'm a leader. Does it mean I always have to be a vocal leader out front? No. I might lead by influencing you. I might lead by literally leading, or by being a resource. But I believe that leaders are born, and I believe that leaders are made. I believe that leaders can be shaped by the times that they're in. I think I am a born leader, though, and have found myself in leadership roles and positions since before I could remember, since pre-K, and so on and so forth. And first African-American student body president of my school, went to Howard University and did a little bit of leadership stuff there, but at Morehouse is where my leadership skills, I think, really blossomed, and where they all came together. Not to mention in athletics, I was a captain on pretty much any team I played on, and but I think I've also been a leader professionally as well, and tried to be someone that people could look up to and believe in, and someone that people could follow and would definitely work closely with, so that we can achieve wonderful goals together. I think that leaders are born. I think that leaders are also made. I think that that situations call for a certain type of leader, and they call for individuals to step into the void and to rise to the occasion. And it's interesting because Morehouse has a great quote from Howard Thurman that Morehouse holds a crown above the heads of his students, and she challenges them to grow tall enough to wear. I think it's all about leadership, and leadership is a big part of Morehouse College. Now, you might not be the captain of the football team, or you might not be the president of the student body, but you may lead in some other quiet way. You may lead by example, and you know, there wasn't a day that went by that, even when I was on campus having the best time humanly possible, I'd look over and see somebody else who wasn't doing what I was doing, and yet they would inspire me. So our inspirations, I think, are leaders. And so we're made, or it's thrust upon us, or we have it in us, but either way, it's innate. But either way, I think we can all be positive and impactful leaders.
Very good. Very good. What did you need most from your parents while you were a student at Morehouse? And what is the best advice you can give Morehouse parents today regarding their son's matriculation?
What I needed most from my parents when I was in school, I got, which was my parents said, son, go enjoy these 4 years. But my daddy made it real clear. Now, you're only getting 4 that I'm helping to pay for. I was on a football scholarship for full tuition, so my parents helped with the other part. But they were like, son, I ain't paying past 4, and they meant it. But both my parents graduated from historically black colleges, and it was just in our blood, I guess. And some of your kid might be the first to go to college. I promise you. Morehouse will instill something in them that you just can't put your hands on. It's just unbelievable. But my parents really helped me learn to soak it all in and just enjoy it. And I did. One of my summer jobs, I was a MARTA bus driver. The summer of 1977, MARTA used to hire college students to relieve the vacation bus drivers in the summer. I made $5.20 an hour. That was a high-paying job back then, and it's a great place. And Atlanta it's a good place. It's safe. It is. I know you hear certain things going on with crime in Atlanta, but I grew up on South Side Chicago, and I've lived in Washington D.C. My kids live in town, and I feel very safe. And I was always safe when I was in school. Morehouse is very protective of us. And, you know, the kids just have to make good decisions on where they go and things that they do. But overall, I wouldn't trade it. As I said, my own son went to Morehouse also.
Create the paths that allow them to explore, to see things, even if it might be a little outside of what you expect them to be involved in. I mean, my mom would have never imagined that at this point in my life, I'm going to be, 50 years old next year. And I'm a Zumba husband, basically, like she would have never seen that for me. She wanted something more, the PhD, like that was the track that she was pushing me on. And not to say that I still can't get a PhD, but for parents, I would just say, be supportive, encourage your sons to explore multiple options when it comes to what they're going to do for their life. Because, I was a 4.0 student, clearly, but I would say that there were a lot of, other, okay, let me see how, and again, y'all can edit this as you need to. I was a 4.0 student, and there were other students who weren't 4.0 by any stretch, but because they actually, went about things their way as opposed to following exactly what the parents had in mind, they may have found their groove in life a little faster. So, be supportive, be encouraging, and be understanding of what your son wants to do.
College is fun, it's challenging, but it's also stressful. And to that point, one thing that heightens the stress level of college is money. There is nothing more frustrating than having to choose whether to go to a party that everybody's going to or not because you don't have enough money to pay your entry fee, or whether to go out to eat with your friends because you don't have enough money to last you throughout the week. And so what I say to all parents out there is, if you have a little extra money, don't be afraid to drop it in your son's bank account, because it will truly make a difference, and it will truly take some stress off of him so that he can focus on having fun and focus on actually learning. But my next piece of advice is, parents, continue to call and reach out to your sons no matter how much you think it annoys them. And indeed, it is annoying, but we love hearing from our parents and love hearing that people back home are thinking about us, that they're supporting us, and it really drives us to keep going hard in classes, to keep doing all that we can so that we can reach the next level. So if you learned anything from this, it is send them money and send them love.
So this may be different for your son. I know everybody's a little bit different. You know your son a lot better than I do, obviously. But in terms of what I needed from my parents, I needed that pressure. I needed my folks to be on me. I mean, I got really good grades in high school, never really had to study, and got to Morehouse. And in the first semester, it was really good. But as I got into that second semester, I started to let other things take over. I was, helping out with party promotions. I, walked onto the football team. I was hanging out with my friends, just really enjoying the college lifestyle. But I needed that accountability. I needed that accountability on my grades. I would recommend talking with your son, finding the level of accountability that's needed, and set goals and expectations of both parties, and even have it all in writing so that you all can work on the process together. There's certain rewards and consequences for meeting and not meeting those particular goals. And whether it's a call every month or a call after every test, whatever you agree upon, the accountability is key. I remember when I had it, and I remember when I didn't, and my GPA definitely reflected the two different environments. And at the end of the day, everyone just wants to make the people that care about them proud. So setting those expectations early on for your student and agreeing on the set expectations will help keep that accountability up. And there will definitely be some missteps, but it's all a part of the process. Once you're on track, I will say those accountability talks can be super exciting because you feel like you're taking the incremental steps in order to make your village, if you will, proud of what you're doing.
Well, my parents, they gave me everything, so there wasn't really anything else we needed other than more money. I always need more money to eat with and to go out on dates with. I always need more money. But this is a long time ago, so there was no streaming services. There were no cell phone bills, really. There were little tiny cell phone bills, but nothing too crazy. But always needed more money. Eventually, gas money. Always needed gas money. But I think that my parents gave me everything. I mean, if you know me, some of you watch, you know me. You know I was given everything and a lot of it, and so I'm very blessed in that regard. And come from a wonderfully loving family and a wonderfully generous family. Having said that, I think it's important, at least from a parent's perspective, and my parents supported me and still do so amazingly with love and with advice and with direction, and I think that my parents always opened the door for communication. I didn't always go through that door. So I think if there's any advice, it's try to implore your kids to be as communicative as possible so that you can help them and you can be there for them. And I know you love them, and that's why you send them to Morehouse, because you love your son. The more communication, the easier the communication stream and flow. Obviously, the more helpful a parent I think can be. So that's the advice I'd give to parents of a Morehouse student. Also, know that he's going to change. The young man that you dropped off, prayerfully, is not going to be the young man that you come pick up after Thanksgiving, after the first break, after the first year, and definitely not after 4. So have the room to show your understanding, or even try to find it, because your student will express himself and find himself and learn more about himself in those 4 years that he's at Morehouse than really any other time in his adult life. And he will expect, or he will hope, that he has that support from you all. Even if you don't immediately understand him, just try to. And you'll love him regardless, but just try to understand him and try to understand the direction he's going in, and but keep giving him that advice. Just keep beating it right over the head with that advice. We Morehouse guys can be a little hard-headed at times. So keep telling us over and over and over again, and just show us that you love us by constantly giving that advice and showing support.
My advice to parents is to be supportive. Be supportive and understand that they're going through something that, unless you are a Morehouse parent or you attended, you're Morehouse alum, it's something that you just might not understand. And they might come home a little kooky after that first year of history and start challenging things. But the point is just to be supportive, to engage in it, and to respect the fact that they are maturing. They are going to be different after this experience, and they're going to be great, and really push them to learn as much, to meet as many people, to take advantage of the opportunities that Morehouse and Atlanta has to offer their students. They'll be fine. They're protected. Encourage them to be smart, but also to be open to figuring out who they are, to encourage them to really figure that out, because it doesn't stop after the degree. It doesn't stop after the first job and many other things. We're still figuring it out. But to help them understand that they have a place in this world, and they were in some sense ordained to be in that place and to have that spot. And what an amazing opportunity is awaiting them, and the world is awaiting them. And so this is just a training. You will take over the reins, my son, someday. You will have to fix the problems that were created to create new technologies and thought and philosophy and policy for where we're going. It is your responsibility. And this is where it starts, right here at Morehouse College.
And this question is my favorite question of all. If you could have a do-over, what one thing would you change about your Morehouse journey? And I'm listening intently to this because my son is currently on his Morehouse journey. So I'd love to hear you all's perspective.
I wouldn't change a thing. The truth is that I got some wins, but also got some losses. I had some good times, but also had some bad times. I made some friends and probably some enemies. But the most important thing is that after everything I went through, there was a lesson. And I came out of Morehouse College stronger than I went in. And that's all you can ask for. That's all you can hope for. Because of my experience, I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better. You may as well call me Marvin Sapp. No, but really, I enjoyed my Morehouse experience. Every day won't be a good day, just like in life. But at the end of your 4 years, you will look back and you will say, I'm glad I made this decision. And just like you will say 4 years from now, I'm saying almost 4 years after I've graduated from Morehouse College, that I am excited for you all. I'm excited that we have the opportunity to continue this legacy of greatness from Morehouse College with the next class. And I am excited that you guys are considering Morehouse. I hope to see you soon.
If I could have a do-over, I would, well, there are many things. Number one, I probably would not have been so obsessed about a 4.0. That's for sure. I would have taken classes that I avoided strategically because it could have jeopardized my GPA. I mean, for the most part, being an English major, you had to do whatever. There was one class in particular, Dr. Bueno's class. It was in the philosophy department. I forget exactly the name. Not constructive criticism, but something that could have challenged me in ways that as a senior with a 4.0 is kind of like, I don't know if I want to go that route. So there were things I shied away from because I wasn't sure that I could get the A. The other thing is I would have asked for help a lot more. Being that 4.0 student, I felt like I had to have the answers organically, like just, like Athena, springing forth from Zeus's head. Like I felt like I had to produce a lot of the answers because I was so smart. And that is a horrible trap. Horrible trap that, it took me decades to discover the nature of the trap, and there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of emotional trauma. We can talk about psych wards and being committed and mental health and all of those pieces. But essentially, ask for help. Do not be afraid to ask for help, because even if you're a 4.0 student, you don't know how to navigate in the worlds in which you want to play. And so, like, I used to think that being a Rhodes Scholar, the world was automatically gonna, like, all avenues, because they used to say, you can write your own ticket. But nobody told me that you actually had to pick a destination and, lay the foundation, lay the pipe for that. You actually have to, seek those opportunities. I thought like Goldman Sachs and JP Stevens or whatever, JP Morgan Chase, JP Stevens is my daughter's high school. I thought that they were going to come to me. I thought that literally once I got the Rhodes, all types of organizations would be writing to me, calling me, saying, hey, Nima, come, work with us. That is certainly not what happened. And there are like programs, and I remember the business program at Morehouse was particularly good at this because Ben McLaurin, may he rest in peace, he was a great mentor, coach, advisor for students. And so he would give them these avenues and contacts, and so it's like if you don't ask for help, people don't automatically know to give it to you. And I would just say, for students, no matter what your GPA is, no matter where you are, do not be afraid to ask for help. Of course, there's that saying, you can always tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much. So we're proud of our confidence, but let's not be arrogant and let's not be presumptuous. Let's ask for help, because that will make life life is hard enough. So the help that others can offer you makes things a lot easier.
I wouldn't change anything. And that's coming from someone who had a little bit of an unorthodox journey. I did really well my first semester, then did okay for the next 3 or 4. Then after that, I started dropping some of my classes, prioritizing work over school, took a couple semesters off, even moved down to Florida for a job, ended up getting married. My entire matriculation from entering as a freshman and graduation was about 8.5 to 9 years, if you count the years I wasn't enrolled. But I think handling that adversity and getting back on track to the completion of the goal of graduation was really important for me. And this is my graduating class right here. Might be able to see me, might not. Right there. I was really excited about being able to be in that moment, because not necessarily because it was the destination, but what happened on the journey to get there. And of course, I didn't enjoy being the old guy. Some of my classes, I didn't like seeing my original classmates graduating from law school and medical school, and I'm still going for this undergrad degree, right? But even with all of that, I wouldn't change anything, because that journey helped to make me who I am today. And I think my Morehouse brothers on the panel would agree that there's something truly special about Morehouse, and there's no other place like it on earth. And I'm happy to be a part of that illustrious legacy, but more so because I did it in my own way, if you will.
If I could have a do-over, I wouldn't change anything. You know, they ask us that in the exit interview when you graduate. What could you change? Or maybe that's what Henry asked me. I don't know if that's the standard question. Would you change anything? Would you done anything differently? No. I was there for a while too. I was at Morehouse a long time, and I wouldn't change a thing. I would have done some things differently, though. I would have gone to class earlier, more often and earlier, and not been so afraid in certain circumstances to try things out. I wish I had joined the Glee Club. I could have done that for a semester or a year. I was there long enough. I wish I had played a sport. I could have played baseball when I came back when I was there, and I should have done that. I wish I'd done that. I'd done, student body. I was involved in student government and I was senior presidential advisor. I ran the elections committee. I was over the Misdemeanor White committee. I was a student senator. I was a senior class justice. I was ethics committee chairman in the Senate. I was the features editor of the newspaper, the sports editor of the newspaper. I was a senator of the Texas Club. I was on all kind of committees and all that. But so I was really big into government and also media, but in the newspaper. But I wish I had also joined the Glee Club. I was a part of the newspaper, which is the oldest organization, but the Glee Club is like the second oldest organization. So being part of that would have been great. Also lettering in a sport at Morehouse, I think, would have been really cool as well. So I was a sports editor, so I wrote about it. But I think playing sports for Morehouse, playing athletics for Morehouse, I think would have been very, very cool. And I wish I had done that. I could have done it. I don't know why I didn't do it. Something else was obviously supposedly more important for me at that time. So those are the things that I would have done differently, but not done over.
I don't know. Maybe everybody else will agree. I wouldn't do one thing over. Not one single thing. It was the best time of my life, and up until this past year, I've never missed a homecoming because of that. I think this sense of familiarity, the sense of fraternity that's created is something that you can't replicate. And I didn't really have any bad experiences at all when I was at Morehouse. But, and maybe I don't think they were. Maybe I think there were moments to sharpen me. But I think the thing that I would say if I had to do anything over, oh man, I just, I wouldn't ever want to stay in college longer, but goodness, it was the most incredible time of my life. And just savor it. Just savor those moments. And I think that I did. But that sense of understanding, like, this is the most incredible time of your life. But even going forward, this is one of the most defining times of your life. So, enjoy it. There are no regrets here. I had a great time. And I'm still having a great time. It's almost like I never left, I guess, technically. I did, but I didn't. So anyways, I wouldn't do anything over.
If I could do one thing over, I would have been a better student sooner. I made the honor roll my last 2 semesters, but my first semester I had 1.6. I just didn't have good study habits. I partied, I was on a football team, then I pledged Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And back when I pledged, we had frat houses on campus. Yeah, boy. Where Kilgore is now, that's where the frat houses were. We were the only historically black college that had frat houses. So it was special. My closest friends are the guys I met at Morehouse. And we live all around the country. And we pretty much talk every day by text and Zoom and different stuff. And what's funny, we're laughing how we were 18 when we met. And this year, all of us are getting Medicare because we're all turning 65. So, but we all have this saying, we will age but never become old. And that comes from Morehouse. We never age at Morehouse as far as getting old. We age, but we never get old because we always feel we can keep going and keep doing. So parents, don't be afraid to send them. Encourage them to come. And when they come, let them be free to enjoy it in college. And mama, don't text after 10 p.m. or before 8 a.m. Just leave them alone because they're partying. No, they'll be studying and sleep. But the other thing that I found interesting when we moved our son into the dorm, which I wouldn't help because I said, my parents just dropped me off and gave me a kiss on the cheek. And I said, I'm not going to be fixing this room up. And of course, this is an interesting story. My senior year roommate in college and still best friend, our sons were born 3 weeks apart, and our sons were roommates at Morehouse. So the mamas got together and had all these matching comforters and all that. This made me sick. I'm like, man, get them jokers. I had a Foot Locker when I came to college. That was it. Everything for the semester was in that Foot Locker. Today, these kids come with so much. That's just the old man in me talking junk right now. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. And to all my fellow members on this panel, thank you so much. And I'm sure we're repeating a lot of the same stories, but as the old head of the group, my stories are better and they're true. Have a good time. And just like I know y'all's are true too, but I just want to throw that in. So parents, Morehouse is a great place.
Well, this has been a very engaging afternoon, and I would like to thank our panelists, Nima, CD, Kennard, Derrick, Joe, and Douglas, once again for taking the time to share your Morehouse stories. I know I learned a lot, and we hope all of you gained some insight on why it's so important to run your own race, chart your own path, and make the choices that are right for you. Most importantly, remember that there are resources available to both students and parents when you need them. From the Office of Parent Engagement and the Office of Student Services to the Office of the Provost, Counseling Services, and the Morehouse College Parents Council, there are people at and affiliated with the college who care about your personal and professional well-being, as well as your academic success. So please reach out when you need to do so. And we can't wrap up today without thanking Artist Blanchard once again for her vision and coordination of this event. Thank you all for joining us and allowing me to serve as your host and moderator for this important discussion. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and happy Parents Weekend. Take care.